These are the top 5 whiskeys I just can't stop recommending. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So, recently I released a video about some of the things that I wished I had known before getting into the world of bourbon. One of the more fun aspects of that list was talking about how you become kind of known as the bourbon or whiskey person in your life once you have like a pretty serious collection going. Lots of people come to you for recommendations, asking for your opinion about, well, what should I get if I want this gift? What should I get if I've only had X, Y, or Z? And then you do your best to give them a well-informed answer. I was reflecting on it and thinking about what are the whiskeys that I tend to recommend the most, and especially what are the ones recently that I've just been throwing out there to a lot of people who have been asking, what's good? What are you sipping on? What should I get next? These were the 5 that came to mind. They each have a slightly different reason, perhaps why I recommend them, but all of them, I hope, are very solid recommendations that, from what I've heard, people have had relatively good reviews of once they've gone out and gotten them. So let's dive in now with the first bottle, which is, if you're looking for something budget, that's gonna be great. Here's what I recommend. The classic Wild Turkey 101. I often have to fight people a little bit on their preconceived notions of Wild Turkey. They think about it and they think about bourbons they've had in college that they were, asked to or maybe forced to take shots of, and this comes to mind. But then I tell them, look, if you're really getting into bourbon, go buy this for $20 to $25. Sit down with it and sip it and realize how much flavor is actually there. And I've had a lot of people talk to me about how good this bottle is for the money, of course. Okay, that's recommendation number 1. Recommendation number 2 is one that I just think of quintessential bourbon. When somebody says, I want something that really just represents kind of the home center of bourbon, what profile should I go for? Here's what I tell them. Heaven Hill 7-year bottled in bond. So if you can get your hands on this, and I've seen it becoming a lot more available in my area, which is great, I think this is quintessential bourbon. Brown sugars, oak, cherry, vanilla, and a little bit of spice. It's basically right down center alley for bourbon profiles, and really, really good for the price, around $45 to $50. So I recommend this one highly to a lot of people, especially as they look to orient themselves in the bourbon world. I tell them this is, again, kind of like a center point to compare other things to, and I've heard that that's helpful and that a lot of people do enjoy this one. Okay, so the third bottle on my list is one that, since it came out, I literally have just thrown that recommendation to as many people as I possibly can, and that is Bardstown Bourbon Company's Bottled in Bond Wheat. I love this bottle. It's around $50, and I think for that price, it's one of the best. It's wheated, so that gets you a different profile for a lot of people that maybe they haven't experienced or explored a ton. It's got strong wheat presence to it, so very sweet raspberry, vanilla, and some spiciness, and then a good dark tone. It might be an oakiness, might be interpreted more as a brown sugar. It's just very awesome. I lack the words right now to describe it, but it is really, really good. And I've thrown this recommendation to a ton of people and said, basically, if I could recommend you get anything in that $50-ish category right now, I'm leaning toward this. And it's been constant for about the last year or so that I've been leaning and directing people toward this bottle. Okay, so the last 2 bottles on my list are 2 of the more recent releases on the list, which means they've become pretty highly regarded in my mind since they came out. Before we reveal those, do want to say, 1, comment down below. Let me know what bourbons, what whiskeys you tend to recommend the most. And then while you're at it, please consider hitting the like button on this video. Gets it out to the most people, helps out with the algorithm. And then if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel for the rest of 2024 and beyond. Hope to make a lot more great content for you guys as we move forward. Especially toward the end of the year, things tend to get exciting with all the releases, and I'll do blinds and I'll find my whiskey of the year. Hopefully you'll be along for the ride. Okay, let's talk about our last 2 bottles. If you want something full force, but still sweet, and just gonna, as soon as you sip on it, you're gonna be like, oh, that's good bourbon. This is what I direct people to, and that is Green River Full Proof. So Green River is quickly becoming one of my most respected brands because they're releasing great whiskey at very affordable prices. Their regular line is $35 for their bourbon, their wheated bourbon, their rye. This one's right around $45, $50 for the full proof. Whew, this stuff is good. It's like honey nut Cheerios. Lots of honey, lots of sweetness, lots of brown sugar, and then tons of spice because of the full proof. So really comes at you, but in a great way. And when people are looking for something newer, more exciting, but still affordable, this is what I point them towards. All right, last but not least, my fifth bottle on this list is one that just has a profile that most people can enjoy, but is different maybe than what they've tasted from other bourbons. I also think it's just a beautiful bottle to have, and that is James E. Pepper Barrel Proof. So for me, right around $65 for this bottle. It's a beautiful presentation. The whiskey itself is also beautiful. When people are asking me, what should I get for a gift? What should I get if I'm looking to kind of elevate my game, the next step up? I want something a little bit more special. I'm tending to go toward James E. Pepper. I've had multiple people come over for tastings, and this has been one of the first things I've wanted them to try to get their opinion. By and large, most people have been loving it. There's a peach and vanilla cream thing going on in my single barrel. Lots of spiciness too, but in a good way. It's just such a good bottle, and I think hopefully as I continue to recommend it to more people, I'll get more reviews, but so far so good. People have been loving this one and eager to go out and get themselves their own single barrel. All right, I think that's gonna do it, everybody. That's my list. These are the 5 whiskeys, 5 bourbons that I've found myself recommending the most. I seem to just not be able to stop recommending them enough to the people in my life and the people who ask me for what to get next. So again, would love to hear in the comments, what whiskeys do you tend to recommend the most? I think it's a fascinating kind of conversation and reveals a little bit about what our tendencies are too. Until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey. Hopefully you make some great recommendations that people love, and cheers.